Welcome to our Books Across the Curriculum session. This term we're looking at PSE and RSE in the curriculum and looking at primary schools. My name's Hannah, I'm the school library lead here at the School Library Association. Today I've got 20 titles to show to introduce you to that are going to appeal to a range of readers. I've selected these based on my personal library experience and working for the School Library Association and the different sort of books that we've come across through them. These books are going to boost your collections so that you are well supplied to support children and teachers when learning about this topic. The categories that I've used are the same that we use for our book list, so there will be 10 categories altogether, and for each category we offer a book that is for less confident readers or for more confident readers, which how long is a piece of string you may have your own judgments on, and you will know what works best for your students in your school. So why are we talking about PSHE and RSE in primary schools this week? So the government's updated its RSE curriculum, and these updates include a focus on some new topics that become mandatory in the curriculum from September 2026. So we hope that by focusing on these, you can embed yourself more fully within your schools and support the educators that work in your environments. So some of the topics that are coming into increasing focus are understanding different family units, how to build respectful and kind relationships, caring friendships, online safety awareness, and being safe in general, including how to set boundaries and understanding children's rights to privacy. So that's some of the topics that these books focus on. Getting started then, we will have our first category, which is new releases, and we've got two wonderful books for you starting, and they've been sent to me, which is lovely. So we have Frank the Monster, which I'm hoping the blur will let me show you. It won't. I'll see if I can turn it off. Frank the Monster by Matt Strandberg, illustrated by Sophia Falkenham. So this book is, I'm going to read the black back cover for you. It was easy to imagine things in the shadows of my bedroom at night. Someone in the wardrobe who'd opened the door a crack, maybe a vampire with freshly sharpened teeth, a terrible rotten face staring through the window, looking straight at me, licking its lips. I hated the dark and the night. Why did it even exist? Every time the sun sank behind the trees at dusk, something sank inside me too. I tried to convince myself there was no such thing as monsters, if only I knew how wrong I was. So this is a really lovely story. Frank is a boy who turns into a werewolf, and in doing so he discovers a sort of collective of other monsters living in an underground society in his town, but he's always felt like an outsider, and it's through meeting this group of people that he finds and builds his own community. So it explores themes of difference and well-being. He's a misfit main character who bonds with his community of vampires and werewolves, creatures that are typically called monsters, but that he sees different things within them. The writing is suspenseful and it's going to hook lots of young readers. It might be their first sort of spine-chilling experience and introduction into horror and spooky stories. And there's really beautiful illustrations along the way. I'll try and show you them. Yeah, there we go. Blur's going to show you them. So this is a really good book for readers who are starting to read independently and want books that are manageable, achievable, help them build that sense of confidence in their reading, whilst also being a really engaging story as well. And it links obviously to themes of identity and friendship, which are core to the PSHE curriculum. Next, we have When the Birds Wake Up by Jessica Mary Ellis, and this is illustrated beautifully by Sophie Burrows. Life is a lot for Pear. She has a new house, new school, same old mean girls teasing her about her ears. Worst of all, her beloved grandma's memories are drifting away like ocean waves. Then Piglet arrives, a scruffy, brave rescue dog with sticky-up ears and a heart big enough for all of Pear's worries. With Piglet by her side, Pear begins to find her way back to music, to friendship, and to the quiet courage of being exactly who she is. Told in luminous verse, When the Birds Wake Up is a tender story about love, change, and the extraordinary power of connection. So this is one of the copies we've got, and it's a really wonderful book. It's a novel in verse, which is a genre that is increasingly growing, and you may have seen a piece that Sarah Crossan wrote for the latest TSL about why these books are so effective for readers. If you haven't, I do recommend you read it. But in particular, the things that make these books successful is the way the books are laid out on the page. It's less intimidating for children who are maybe reluctant to read, but the books themselves are still longer, so they feel a huge sense of accomplishment in finishing them. This is a particularly moving narrative about a family experiencing really profound change in challenging circumstances and the changes that can bring to a family dynamic, including feelings of grief and ultimately how strong relationships and unconditional love can be to support each other. Pear's really struggling with the fact that her grandma, who has Alzheimer's, is forgetting parts of her routine and their relationship together is changing. She's also dealing with children being unkind to her at school. So these books show the ways that your emotional well-being can be disrupted by those circumstances and how you get through them. And these stories can be really impactful for building resilience in children as well. So our next story is old favourites, which is one of my favourite categories. And we're starting with, for less confident readers, our recommendation is The Cat Mummy by Jacqueline Wilson, illustrated by Nick Sherratt. So this book was published in 2009 and it's about Mabel to start with. Mabel is a very special cat. He belonged to Verity's mother, who died when Verity was born. After learning about the ancient Egyptians in school, Verity comes home to find Mabel has passed away, curled up in the bottom of her wardrobe. Struggling to accept what has happened, Verity decides to embalm the cat in a way that the ancient Egyptians would have, but whilst keeping Mabel's death a secret from her gran. This is a narrative that explores death and bereavement, which is an important link to the well-being and overall teaching in PSHE. But it's also really an empathetic narrative about how the trauma of losing a beloved pet can really affect a child's behaviour and continue to impact family dynamics. But it's also got an overarching narrative around how her family never really dealt with her mother's death and it's something she can never talk about. So that's why she decides to keep the cats, or tries so hard to keep her cat's death a secret, because she thinks it'll upset her grandma and she doesn't want to upset her grandma as well. So it's really important to show narratives of how children, it's really natural to have a reaction of bottling up feelings and trying to hide things, but that ultimately that doesn't make things better, but talking to people does. And that's sort of how the book concludes. So it's a very short, very accessible story that has a real impact in understanding children's behaviour and comfort. For more confident readers, we have Stig of the Dump by Clive King, which was published first in 1963. It's about a boy called Barney, who's fairly solitary and often wanders off by himself in the countryside. Exploring an old chalk pit, he finds himself in a cave where he meets a strange boy who wears rabbit skin and speaks in grunts. His grandparents don't believe Barney when he tells him about his new cave friend, but nevertheless, the two enjoy plenty of fun together. This is a really powerful children's story, and especially for linking it to the PSHE and RSE curriculum. Healthy friendships and how to build strong relationships is a really core part, and this is an excellent example of how friendship can transcend ways of communication. Barney and Stig don't share a common language, but they still form powerful friendship through sharing their different skills, supporting each other, and finding their own other ways to communicate that don't include language. And Barney also has a lot of respect for Stig and his home. He doesn't view him as primitive, he learns from him. So understanding difference and different people's perspectives is really powerful within this book as well. So it's a really useful link for children and a good spotlighting of a classic novel. Next are feel-good books. For less confident readers, we have Letters to a Dog by Piers Torday, illustrated by Alice McKinley. So I'm going to read the synopsis. It doesn't sound like a feel-good book, but stay with me. So Jamie is in hospital waiting for a life-changing operation. And to make that difficult time even harder, he's fallen out with his dad and who refuses to speak to him when he comes to visit. To keep his spirits up, Nurse Shirley suggests he writes a letter to the local dog that he wants to adopt. But imagine his surprise when the dog writes back. Piers Torday writes this book with a really funny in style, but within a really engaging emotional plot line. It's a dyslexic-friendly book, so it's written really impactfully, very quick plot moving, and it helps to engage reluctant readers with books as well. Despite the upbeat tone, Jamie is dealing with really challenging circumstances, and so this book demonstrates how to have a proactive method to work through your feelings and your emotions, even when you're going through challenging circumstances. It also encourages understanding of different family situations and what the experiences children can have in hospital, which, if we think about books as a window and a mirror for children who haven't had an experience of that, they don't get a lot of visibility into what that might be like. So books where we get to see children dealing with those experiences are really important as well. Piers Torday is also a speaker at our conference, as is Jacqueline Wilson, who wrote one of the books on our last slide. So if you haven't got your tickets yet for that, it's on the 5th and 6th of June and tickets are still available. Our next book for more confident readers is The Donut Club by Christina Rahim, illustrated by Marina Tenner Boras. So donor conceived Quinn loves her family, but she often feels like the odd one out. Not only because she's the only one with red hair and green eyes, but because she'd rather be quietly drawing than surfing or rock climbing, or whatever mad activity her mums and brother Ollie might like to do on holiday. But when Quinn's mum starts to tell her and Ollie that they have 16 donor siblings, Quinn is really excited. Maybe one of them will be more like her. The only problem is her parents want her to wait until she's older to contact anyone. As she secretly tries to find out more, Quinn starts to lose sight of what's really important, especially when she starts to believe her worst enemy could be one of her siblings. Can she find her way back to her family whilst finding a way to tell them how she really feels? So this is a really excellent, well-written story, and it's a really fun, engaging mystery plot, which was a great link to children who are already really into their mystery stories, but perhaps a way to move them into a slightly different genre as well. It's also really good representation of donor families who specifically, don't necessarily get a lot of representation within books that children may have read before. It's about teaching children that family is about more than biological links and how they form those relationships as well. But it can also encourage an understanding of building and maintaining positive relationships and emotional well-being as well throughout the story. Our next category is our illustrated reads. For less confident readers, we have The Grand Hotel of Feelings by Lydia Brankovic. Welcome to the Grand Hotel of Feelings, where all kinds of feelings come and stay. Every guest has unique needs. Anger, for example, is very loud and needs plenty of space to scream and shout. Sadness speaks in a small voice and occasionally floods the bathroom. Gratitude likes wandering around in nature. You never know when she might come and sit by your side. Some feelings are big and some are small. Some are fun and some are tricky, but they're all feelings that must be listened to and acknowledged. After all, they are just passing through. This book has really stunning illustrations and masterful storytelling which come together to create an engaging tale that encourages children to make space and time to understand their feelings without judgment. It's a really imaginative concept that I think children will understand very quickly, and that can be creatively adapted to a range of activities. You could ask children to create their own hotels and think about what feelings they might stay there and how those guests might behave as well. It's obviously got a really strong link to the PSHE topics of well-being and forming healthy relationships, and there's also a workbook that's recently come out based on this concept that will be packed with activities as well relating to the book. For more confident readers, we have a graphic novel called Frankie's World by Aoife Dooley. Frankie knows she's not like anyone else in her class. She's different, but she can't quite figure out why. Is it the freckle on her nose, or the fact that she's small for her age, or the fact that she has to go to hospital sometimes? Everyone else seems to think she's weird too, and they make fun of her at school. Frankie's dad left when she was a baby. Maybe he was different too. It would explain why she always feels like an alien. So she and her best friend Sam embark on a mission to track him down. This is a colourful and funny graphic novel that will be accessible to a range of fans, popular for fans who are already fans of authors like Raina Telgemeier or the Sad Ghosts Club. These books might be really useful for them. It's a heartwarming and empathetic narrative that shows a lived experience of SEND and disabled children, and that's based on the author's own experiences in school. In it, Frankie's autism can lead to misunderstandings, but she still has good friendships and relationships, and that's really important for showing how to build those positive friendships with that link to the RSE curriculum. Our next category is our poetry books. For less confident readers, we have I Tell Myself I'm Awesome by Joshua Segal, illustrated by Chris PSHE. This is a delightfully written collection of uplifting poetry from Josh Segal, winner of 2020 and 2023 Laugh Out Loud Book Awards and the Reading Rocks Award. So whether you're in the mood for something hilariously silly or sentimental, this is the new collection of witty, reflective, and rather ridiculous poems that will lift your mood, spark your imagination, and give your mental health a little boost. Joshua Segal's verses will have you pondering life's big and small questions as you encounter a waxy pet lemon, spicy jalapenos, and a valiant dog who proves that even the smallest of us can be heroes. So well-being is obviously essential to the current PSHE curriculum, and this book has a very strong link with that. But it also shows the ability to amuse and entertain as well, and that can have a real impact in this area. It's got a real playful style, so that's going to have a broad appeal, and those books could go a long way to expanding readers' vocabulary as well. And these poems I always think can be really useful because they're short form. You can use them in lessons in a different way. You could use them as settler tasks at the start of a lesson or to wrap up at the end. In a similar vein, our poetry book choice for older readers, or for more confident readers, is Fresh by Rhiannon Oliver, illustrated by Chris Riddell. Taking inspiration from everything from cat fleas to cloud gazing, Fresh is a lively collection of poems from primary school age children, which explores starting over, the natural world, expressing your feelings and kindness. As well as the fun stuff, many of the poems in Fresh touch on mental health and well-being, covering subjects such as shifting friendships, sadness, loss, coping with worry and being left out, complete with stunning black and white illustrations from former children's laureate Chris Riddell. So similarly, this has a real strong link to a range of PSHE topics and could be used to support learning in lots of different ways. There's wonderful, charming illustrations as well to play with, so that'll inspire children and capture them visually. Love Reading for Kids debut of the month. This was their pick for April 2026, so it's a very recent release that you could add to your shopping lists. Our next category is In Their Own Words, and our first book for less confident readers is Wonderfully Wired Brains by Louise Gooding, illustrated by Ruth Burrows. Our brains are unique in the way that they function, work, and think. Neurodiversity is still a relatively new concept that can be tricky to understand, but this book is here to help. It's common for neurodiverse people and those with neurological differences to feel as if they don't fit in, but their extraordinary differences should be embraced. This book teaches children all about the awesome abilities that neurodiverse individuals have, introduces them to advocates who are challenging neurodiversity stereotypes, and most importantly, gives them space to feel accepted. Combining neurodiverse experiences with science, history, and extraordinary facts, Wonderfully Wired Brains has something for everyone. This book will inspire inquisitive young readers and show them that no two brains function the same way and that everyone's experiences should be celebrated. There really is no other book like it. So, Louise Gooding has ADHD, and her writing style, combined with the stunning visuals on these pages done by Ruth Burrows, make this book a really excellent learning tool. And it can be used to build children's knowledge of how their own brains work, understanding their classmates, and linking to key teachings about understanding differences and building empathy. It covers a range of topics as well. So whilst neurodiversity is the focus, we also learn about different mental health conditions like anxiety and depression, which is really helpful at an age where children may not have a language to describe what's happening in their brains at this stage, or even to understand or interpret them. So you could also use it in lessons to help children identify ways to look after their own brain care from there. Our pick for more confident readers is by Jamie by L.D. Lipinski. Jamie Rambo is a happy 11-year-old non-binary kid who likes nothing better than hanging out with their two best friends, Daisy and Ash. But when the trio find out that in Year 7 they will be separated into one school for boys and another for girls, their friendship suddenly seems at risk. And when Jamie realises that no one has thought about where they are going to go, they decide to take matters into their own hands and sort it out once and for all. As the Friends' efforts to raise awareness eventually become a rooftop protest against the binary rules for the local schools, Jamie realises that if they don't figure out a way forwards, they might be at risk of losing both their friends forever. So L.D. Lipinski is a non-binary author who uses they/them pronouns, and when they spoke about the experience of writing the book, they said much of this was based in their own experiences. It's an affirming adventure story that encourages children to reflect on their own identity and the things that we prescribe to boys and girls that they maybe haven't spent much time considering before. And that links to the core teachings in the PSHE curriculum, like identity and well-being, but also understanding differences and how to combat stereotypes. It's really easy for prejudice to kind of come in from nowhere, or not from nowhere, but not areas that are always easy for us to point at and identify. So books like Jamie's really do a lot of work in combating against that. Next, we have books to help you learn. Starting with our book for less confident readers is Growing Up by Rachel Greener, illustrated by Claire Owen. Growing up is a natural part of life. While puberty happens to everyone, every child's journey from childhood to being a grown-up will be as unique as they are. In this honest, accessible, and inclusive guide to puberty, young readers can find out exactly what changes they and their peers may experience as they grow up. From getting taller and discovering hair growing in new places to developing breasts and experiencing periods or having wet dreams, this book provides the perfect stepping stone for every caregiver to have an open conversation with their child about what puberty really means. This book has fun, friendly illustrations and accessible writing in expertly written ways to make learning about puberty as accessible as possible for children. You could use this as a learning tool with families. It could also be used in classroom learning about this topic to develop children's understandings further and to have a reference that they feel comfortable going back to if they can't always articulate the questions they want to ask. Developing bodies is a core part of the PSHE curriculum, and it also links to understanding differences as well and respecting themselves. There's also a section on online safety in this book, so it's a really important area there as well. And with that, we also have How to Question Everything by Susan Martineau, illustrated by Vicky Barker for older children or for more confident readers. It's a jungle out there, an information jungle to be exact. The critical literacy skills in this book will help you cut through the noise, find the facts, and grapple with the stats. It's not just about spotting fake news either. There are sources to consider and clever words to understand. Learn about the world in a calm and safe way. This is a revised edition that was updated to include information about AI, and it was also updated this year in line with the 2025 curriculum assessment and review that was published last year. So it's really got some up-to-date info in it and supports curriculum, specifically linking to literacy and media literacy and critical thinking. But as an engaging text with lots of stunning visuals, this will support children with learning about how to build the critical thinking skills and able to understand news stories, but also information in the wider world, and especially if they're starting to go online, how they can help understand the information that they see there. Books to help you understand. This is one of my favourite categories. For this category, we look for empathetic narratives that help children, develop their understanding of issues in ways that relate to people's lived experiences. So we have to start with The Piano at the Station by Helen Rutter, illustrated by Elisa Paganelli. This is another dyslexic-friendly book published by Barrington Stoke. Lacey's smart tongue and quick temper are constantly getting her confined to isolation at school. But there's a lot more to her that most people never see, and when Lacey gets sent to lunchtime music lessons to keep her out of trouble, she discovers a love and a talent for the piano that opens up a whole new world for her. Just as she's beginning to make progress, her music teacher has to leave, which throws Lacey back into turmoil. Will she go back to her self-destructive ways, or will music offer her a way to save her from herself? So, this is a really heartwarming story, and it's written in Helen Rutter's distinctive, funny style that will connect with a range of readers. You may know her. She wrote The Boy Who Made Everyone Laugh, so books like that have got real humour and heart to them as well. It's an uplifting story and has a narrative that combats stereotypes about naughty children and how they behave and the reasons why that they behave, which can be really important for children who have that experience of school to learn about, but also for children who have other children like that in their class, to notice that that behaviour doesn't just come from nowhere. They're not, and to understand them a bit better as well. Lacey's character arc involves her learning to manage her own emotions in ways that are constructive for her, which is a core element of the RSE curriculum as well. For more confident readers, we have The Wrong Shoes by Tom Percival. Will has the wrong shoes. He's always known it, but doesn't know how to change it. Navigating through the difficulties of home and school life when you feel like you stick out is tough, but finding confidence with help and empathy of friends can be all you need to see the way. Will is very much an outsider character. He's also experiencing child poverty, so it's really important to have narratives that represent this within the story, because it shows as well how much Will stigmatizes himself, and he feels a lot of shame about his home experiences, and trying to hide that and trying to hide a big part of himself creates a barrier for him to being able to connect with other children. Having that narrative within the story will encourage empathy in children. It will also comfort children who may be experiencing that themselves, and it can link as well to that core PSHE element of building strong friendships and relationships. Books to take you away. This category is aimed at finding sort of allegorical narratives with fantastical or sci-fi elements, which then link back to children's real-world lived experiences. So, for less confident readers, we have The Night Forest by Polly Ho Yen, illustrated by Sojung Kim McCarthy. When Ziggy goes to sleep in their new bed at their dad's house, they wake up in the middle of a dark and scary night forest. When even sleeping at their mum's house doesn't help, Ziggy is forced to face their fears. But maybe that scary forest isn't as scary as it sounds. So the magical storytelling combined with evocative illustrations is great for readers who are still building their confidence in this book. It covers divorce, which is something that many families will experience, and how families change during periods of change, interwoven with a really imaginative storytelling as well. And then for more confident readers, both titles have night in them. That wasn't deliberate. That's not part of the theme. The Night I Borrowed Time by Iqbal Hussein. 11-year-old Zubair is the seventh son. This means a lot of big brothers, but when Zubair's granny arrives from Pakistan and gives him a mysterious amulet, he discovers it means something else too. He has inherited a gift. The seven sons in the family have the ability to time travel. With his dad showing a shadow of his former self since the car accident and his mum always tired and angry, Zubair has a genius idea. He'll use time travel to fix things between them. But each trip comes at a cost. If he changes something small in the past, it can have a huge effect on his future, and if he gets it wrong, the results could be devastating. So this is a really action-packed, gripping story, and it'll be perfect for children who are already fans of sci-fi adventures or particularly into Doctor Who or anything to do with time travel. The idea of trying to fix your family by changing things about them and then links to that real core curriculum topic of understanding different families, but also dealing with periods of change and trying to accept things as you are to manage your own emotional well-being as well. It's really important that helps children face up to the reality of that and deal with change. This book also touches on here periods of history between like the partition of India that maybe don't get enough attention in the curriculum currently, or children wouldn't learn about otherwise. So it could be a really useful way for children to improve their historical knowledge as well. Right, we are on to our very last category, which is books for grown-ups. Starting with last time I did these books, the categories that I chose for books for grown-ups had a well-being link. For this time around, I've focused on books that have a real key teacher or educator in them who has an impact on the main character, the child. So, starting with A Bad Day for Jaden by Tony Bradman, illustrated by Tanya Rex. Mum won't get out of bed. His best friend has dumped him, and schoolwork is just too difficult. Jaden wants to do the right thing, but how can he when he feels like the world is conspiring against him? Everything is going wrong, and when a supply teacher turns up to take his class, Jaden's sure things will keep on getting worse. But Mrs. Wilson is not quite the teacher Jaden expected. Can she help turn his bad day around? This book has contemporary representation of children facing multiple complexities and the way that can impact their behaviour, including having caring responsibilities for a parent and a sibling. But it is a heartwarming story that shows the impact that a teacher can make to a child's well-being. This is also a dyslexic-friendly title, so it can be read very quickly if you're trying to fit it in with already a busy schedule. And it links to understanding different family circumstances, well-being, mental health, that is important for educators and children to have an understanding of. Then for more confident readers, you may already be familiar with this title. It is The Final Year by Matt Goodfellow, illustrated by Joe Todd Stanton. If you haven't come across it before, I will read the synopsis. Life can be tough in your last year of primary school. Tests to take, preparing for the change to high school. Nate is ready for it all, knowing that his best friend PS is by their side. They've been inseparable since nursery. But when they are put into two different classes, PS finds a new friend in Turner, the school bully. Nate's world turns upside down as he struggles to make sense of this and forge new friendships. He's dealt another blow when his youngest brother Dylan is rushed into hospital. His new teacher, Mr. Joshua, sees a spark inside of Nate that's lit by his love of reading and writing and shows him how to process what's going on. But with so much working against him and anger rising inside him, will this be enough? So this book was incredibly well received when it first came out. It's a multiple award winner. It got the Clipper Award for Children's Poetry, the Children's Book Award for Older Readers from the Federation of Children's Book Groups, and the Spark Book Award for Readers as well. In it, you've got a captivating story of a of a child at a critical year in their education who is, again, just like Jaden is, dealing with multiple complex situations, bullying and friendships changing, his family and his crisis at home is a real sort of piles on, and he tries to manage his own emotional well-being, and it's his teacher, Mr. Joshua, who really helps him to do that and shows the impact that that can have. As I mentioned, books in verse are becoming increasingly more common, especially for this age demographic, and that's really useful as well. It's a really powerful tool for engaging children in reading. So that is a collection of all the books that we have covered today in this session. It's a really broad range of books and covers a lot of things. That being said, I feel like I've said emotional well-being loads. However, reading is something that we know has a very strong link to well-being anyway, so that was always going to happen. If you have any other questions or advice or ideas, then please get in touch with us. That's my email there on the screen. You can also go through our general email address as well. Thank you for watching, and then I will talk to everyone who came to the session.